Hey guys, Neymett here, and today I have the pleasure of talking to all of you about my experiences leaving World of Warcraft. So, Cole's been asking me to do this video for a long time, and I think it's really important that I do it, simply because there's so many players now that have recently moved to Final Fantasy from World of Warcraft, or are considering moving over to this game. And I just thought by sharing my experience with all of you, it would be really, really useful. And hopefully, people will really, find it helpful. So today, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been playing World of Warcraft and MMOs in general now for close to 15 years. I first started MMOs playing Star Wars Galaxies back in the early 2000s, and I started playing World of Warcraft in about 2005. Over the years playing World of Warcraft, I made a ton of friends and had a lot of fun. I've had many people that I've played with for years. I've raided with them, and honestly, it was great. The raid content and the end game content in World of Warcraft has been and still is engaging. However, with the current Shadowlands expansion, something just changed. The game didn't feel enjoyable anymore. I don't know if it was because I had just played so much of it and I needed something new, but I just didn't enjoy it. And, I thought for a while about this and why this might be the case, and I've come up with three main reasons, and they're as follows. So first, I feel like World of Warcraft is not balanced properly anymore. Secondly, I feel like there's borrowed power systems in the game that aren't fun, make the game difficult to balance, and just make it feel overly grindy. And finally, the player base, for whatever reason, this has just been my perception, just feels less friendly than they had been in the past. So here I'll just start off with my first point here. So problem with class balance. So in World of Warcraft, the difference between the highest performing DPS class and lowest is so substantial that in many cases, if you want to do mythic raiding and you want to play a specific class or spec, you won't be able to, because people simply won't bring you. It's not optimal, and honestly, if you're not doing a lot of DPS and you're not, it's just difficult for the entire group. So they're not going to bring you, because the name of the game is to get the boss down as quickly as possible and make things as easy as they can, and really, who can blame them? It's just, it's a problem with class balance, and unfortunately the devs in World of Warcraft just haven't really been living up to their responsibilities in that regard. That's really all I can say with that, and it's deeply frustrating. I mean, imagine wanting to play a survival hunter or a feral druid. Right now, you just really can't. It's not optimal. I mean, unless you have a group that's really willing to sacrifice and bring you along. And people will say you can play what you want, but it just really is not true if you are in a high-end progression guild and you want to do endgame content. And this just felt more true than ever it ever had been before with the Shadowlands expansion. And it's really not helped by borrowed power systems like the Covenant system. Specifically, this system was designed to give players a meaningful choice, but the reality is it's anything but that. If you want to perform at a high level, it's necessary at almost every occasion to choose optimal Covenant, because you're going to need the optimal soulbinds and the optimal abilities from that Covenant. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to perform at a high level. For example, it doesn't even matter if you like the lore of a different Covenant. That doesn't matter at all. So much for a meaningful choice. So for example, I often thought it would be cool to play a Necrolord on my Druid, but the utility of that Covenant simply could not compete with the Night Fae. And that's because I played Balanced Druid for my off-spec, and the Covenant ability, Convoke the Spirits, was so strong that the other options are not even viable. So it just didn't feel like a meaningful choice. I feel like I was being forced into, picking a specific Covenant, and having to level up the Covenant and the conduits, and it just felt like a total chore. And the frustrating thing about this is you don't even know with every patch if they're going to change and rebalance it, and you'll be forced to grind up another one. So next, that just brings me to my final point. So I just feel like the player base just isn't as friendly as it used to be. So for example, as a result of all these changes I've seen in Shadowlands, and just people stop, like myself included, just stopped enjoying the game, and a lot of my my longtime friends that I've been playing with for years and years stopped playing. And really, I just felt like I didn't really have any reason to stick around. So for example, some of the people that did stay around, it was obvious they didn't even enjoy the game anymore. They became toxic and they just weren't fun to be around. So for example, a player that I played for many years, who was our raid leader, even yelled at Cole and asked him if he could see colors and shapes because he messed up a mechanic on his first ever pull of Stone Legion Generals. So honestly, I wasn't even surprised when that raid group broke up, and then next thing you know, I was pugging things on my own with Cole, and I was going into high keys, and it was just incredibly frustrating because I remember being rejected from groups simply because they would want to bring a Holy Paladin, whereas I had played Resto Druid for years. I was very good at it. I had cleared high keys consistently, but yet people didn't want me simply because I guess Resto didn't bring as much damage to the table as a Holy Pally? I don't know. But it just wasn't fun to be forced to play the meta. So honestly, at this point, the game that I had loved for years just started feeling like a toxic, unbalanced mess. So after over a decade of being subscribed, I finally, a month ago, decided that I would take a break from the game. Thankfully, many of my friends suggested that I try Final Fantasy XIV, and honestly, I'm so glad they did. The game was an absolute breath of fresh air, and while it's not perfect, it's something I now really enjoy. Personally, the problems with class balance that exist in World of Warcraft do not exist in Final Fantasy XIV. At the endgame, every class is so close together that it really doesn't matter what you pick, and you can actually play what you want. It's incredible, and while the classes are not... you don't have multiple specs like you do in WoW, at least they're balanced. So honestly, that is something that is so important and so appealing to me. Secondly, borrowed power systems don't really exist in 14, so you don't have to grind like crazy. That's something I love about Final Fantasy. I can literally just go and buy a set of crafted gear and jump into endgame content. It's great. It's something I really enjoy. It feels really accessible. And finally, the player base and the community that I've encountered is just very positive, by and large. There's been a few toxic people, but honestly, by and large, it's been very positive. And for that reason, I'd recommend Final Fantasy to anyone coming from WoW or another game that's looking for a new MMO experience. I love it. And honestly, in the future, I plan on doing a video where I'll give you my thoughts as a former WoW player on Final Fantasy XIV and exactly, more in detail what is appealing to me about the game. But anyhow, honestly, thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate, this opportunity to come on your channel, Cool, and have the opportunity to talk to everyone here. So honestly, if anyone has any comments or feedback on the video or has any questions for me, I'd be glad to take them. And with that said, smash that like button and throw a spinning Rothgar at that subscribe button. Nemet signing off. Peace out.